Hurry, break camp, we make for Broslow.
As Cashin rushes back to his camp, he finds another group of strangers, this time a mix of Satiroi and Selinoi.
I have no time for whatever this is. Be gone.
We witnessed your skirmish, Great Commander. We will help you, we are risky. We only ask that after you meet our Aristarchs.
What is your Aristarch doing here, so far from home?
He leads a small force, Great Commander. He seeks something. For north of here, he would seek your permission to travel through these lands.
I find this timing beyond suspicious, but also possibly fortuitous. Prove your sincerity to me in combat and I will meet your Aristarch.
Unfortunately for Cashin, Skaffason and Valder made it back to the Nord's vanguard and Egil Skullgrimson. Egil knows they can't afford to have the local leadership aware of their forces, as they search for Ragnvald's mystic item. So, he marches the vanguard to cut off the 100 Kingdoms force, as they make their way towards Broslow. Egil, never a big supporter of Skaffason, now listens to Valder's whispers of Skaffason's possible cowardice, and places him where Valder can keep an eye on him. Egil leads his raiders up the center, knowing that they cannot let any of the kingdom's men make it off this battlefield. Covering Valder and the stalker's left flank are Ursa and her bout chosen. Entering the glade, Celestina Gryak is guarded by the mercenary crossbowmen. As always, it will be an even trade. They will handle the mundane and she the mystic. On her right and leading the way is Cashin, the hunter cadre and the wounded null mage Orvin. Covering Cashin's flank are the Imperial Rangers who seek to use a small grove of trees to shield themselves from the Nord's archers, and with the easiest assignment of all, the militia bowmen face off with Egil Skullgrimson's raiders. Turn 2. Isra's keen eyes spot what is clearly an enemy commander, and she orders the bow chosen to take him down, but some elemental force subtly affects their arrows, and few hit home. Cashin, knowing his forces can't afford to lose the ranged advantage, urges his men to return fire, and they do so with much aplomb. Skaffason and Valder have both spotted the female mage. With memories of how badly the last skirmish went, they both subconsciously know now's their chance to make amends, and they attempt to drown the crossbowmen in arrows. Slaughtering the unit, Celestina gathers the remaining crossbowmen to her, casts a small cantrip to bolster their courage, and leads them to unleash their ire on the bow chosen. As Egil leads the raiders forward, they are suddenly distracted as the men find a half-buried cache of gold coins. On the battle's opposite flank, the Imperial Rangers notice a grotesque life form digging itself out from the soil, and they stop to kill it from range. The militia bowmen advance, and taking advantage of the disorganized barbarians, start to pick them off one by one. Rushing to secure the center, Erkenbold leads the men-at-arms towards Celestina. Just as the militia bowmen start to cheer and jeer at the raiders, they hear various growls and howls as a horde of crazed wolfmen appear. On the far side of the battlefield, from a small grove, a group of Satiroi stalk into the light. Lumbering up the center with flags flapping, come the Ugr. Turn 3. The wolves tear into the militia bowmen, with a ferocity the amateurs had never and for many will never experience again. Celestina Gryak in desperation gathers winds from the four corners and with grim determination forces them towards the Nord center, in hopes of blocking barbarian arrows and increasing the ferocity of her allies' loosed arrows. Her actions incite a brutal archery duel, and when the winds finally dissipate, the Nord center is gutted with only a handful of bow chosen and stalkers left. Unfortunately for Celestina, the trade was not fair, and as the last of the mercenary crossbowmen falls, she hurries exhausted back to the forest edge. Bustling their way through the casualties, the Ugr catch vision of Cashin and the hunter cadre. Incensed at the foul odor emanating from the abomination before them, the Satiroi leap upon it in a frenzy and chop it into a lumpy paste. The raiders, taking advantage of the Ulfhedner's rampage, continue to stuff their pockets with loot as Egil starts to round them up with judicious use of his bone horn. The men-at-arms, shocked by the archery duel, redress the ranks and form a battle line with Cashin's hunters. As a deep growl permeates the battlefield, the Berserks arrive in support of the Nord center. Fortunately for the one or two fleeing militia bowmen, the Steel Legion rush to cut off the maddened wolfmen and set themselves for what they know will be a grisly task. Turn 4. The Steel Legion set about their task with practiced professionalism, proving themselves more than a match for the undisciplined barbarians. Valder and the Stalkers, excited by the loss of the mage, urge Scathison onward, seeking to claim the head of the enemy's commander. But Cashin and the Hunter cadre shrug off their efforts and return them 100-fold, causing Scathison to once again flee a battlefield. With the archery duel all but won, Cashin and the Hunter cadre fall back, hoping for a chance to recover. The Bow Chosen move to keep an eye on the kingdom's right flank, facing off with the oncoming Rangers and Satyroy. The Ogre, confused by the retreating Hunters, turn to face the oncoming Rangers and start to build momentum with a slow lumbering jog. The Satyroy, whilst turning their attention to the center of the battle, notice the mass of giant blue flesh coming their way and stall, their frenzy dissipating. Egil and the Raiders form a rough battle line and begin to advance upon the Steel Legion. The men-at-arms, seizing upon unbelievable good fortune, charge into the flank of the Ogre and begin hacking away. As the realization slowly dawns on them that the Ogre seem completely unfazed, a horde of smelly bearskin-covered barbarians charge into them. Turn 5. The slowly panicking men-at-arms continue to hack at the blue giants, to little effect. Egil Skullgrimson and the Raiders charge home into the Steel Legion, and Egil, glorifying in the chance for glory, leads a one-sided slaughter. Cashin's battle sense was warning him that the tide was turning against him. Seeking to regain the initiative, he ordered the Hunter cadre to do what they do best and cut down the lumbering blue giants. And they do so, to great effect. Unfortunately for the men-at-arms, the Berserk's giant axes care not for their shields. In what seems like the blink of an eye, the battlefield sees a mass of Hax Company soldiers fleeing back to whence they came. The Imperial Rangers, taking stock of the situation, slowly line up and take aim at the remaining Ogre, and proceed to fill them with arrows, ending the giant threat for good. The handful of remaining Bow Chosen provide a smattering of covering fire for the small amount of wounded and distressed, retreating Ogre. As the midday sun begins to wane, Cashin sees that his forces have created an escape route on his right, even as his left flank is broken and falling back. Both sides are slowly wheeling, changing positions. And he must decide whether to continue on with his remaining men, or attempt to stall the Nord's advance, winning the day and gaining time to recover his lost troops. Turn 6. The Bow Chosen leave the safety of the trees and begin an archery duel with the remaining Hunters, neither side having the numbers to cause significant harm. The Berserks wheel about and start to advance upon the remaining foe. The Imperial Rangers decide enough is enough, and they turn their focus on the Nord's last remaining ranged troops, and drive them from the battlefield. The Satyroy suddenly turn towards the escape route and begin to march from the battlefield. Turn 7. Cashin has decided to make a last stand, and he orders the Hunter cadre to take down the oncoming bear men, and they begin to do so. Meanwhile, Egil and the Raiders begin to hunt down fleeing Hax Company men amongst the forest edge, searching for their camp or baggage train. Turn 8. The Imperial Rangers, proving to be brutal executioners, turn their attention to the oncoming frothing berserkers and proceed to cut them down one by one. Cashin leads the remains of the cadre forward, seeking to finish off wounded Nords and recover his own injured. Unfortunately for Cashin, Egil and the Raiders have followed the wounded and fleeing Hax Company soldiers back to their base camp. The end. As the day ends, Cashin gathers together his few remaining forces, hearing the cries and screams from the forest behind him. he is forced to concede that the Nords have cut him off from returning to recover his lost troops and, Celestina, he must make haste to Broslow. Gather more forces and return to inflict justice on this roving horde of madmen.
Hunt them all down. No survivors. We loot after.
As Cashin leads the Hax Company survivors towards Broslow, the Selenoi reappear and lead away their Satyroy brothers. Alliances must be put on the back burner. The heiress Archidrastos Lorientos needs to be warned about this dangerous foe. The wiser amongst the Selenoi do not believe in coincidence. They know Adrastos' search has become infinitely more dangerous.